Beautiful people, September has been a ride. Okay, we started on a high note. We were up, and then soon, long and behold, we we went down to the ground. Okay, and then we had to reel it back in at the end of the month. Okay, let's get into this September wrap up. Hello, beautiful people. I hope all is well. I am Darnaya, Darice, first name, middle name. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, this video may not be that long, and I'm gonna tell you why. Okay, listen, these are the books that I did not get into. Okay, if you saw my September TBR, I had actually 9 books on my TBR. I ended up adding one book, and I'll let you know which book it is. It wasn't initially in that video, and so I didn't get to how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I didn't get to 5 books, y'all, but it's okay. Continue. Stay tuned for my October TBR. Okay, we may fuse them in somewhere in there. Okay, but let's get to the books that I did get to. If you've seen the intro, then you know my September reading started up here. Okay, I thought I was coming in swinging, and I'm gonna start you with the book I started the month with, and I'm gonna go to the book that I ended the month with, and then we're gonna talk about the books in between. So I actually ended up reading 6 books. Okay, because September has been, to start off fall, it has been a whirlwind. It has been chaos for me. Okay, we have 4 teenagers, 2 boys, 2 girls. We have 2 that are getting ready to go to college. They're both in 12th grade. We have my oldest daughter is 15. Our oldest son, he just turned 18. They're both gearing up for college. Highly intelligent students, love them. They've been doing great. However, there's been things going on, something that happened that was a little scary, but everything's okay. Okay, so I've been dealing with a lot at work. It's been overtime. We had a lot to do to gear up for AEP season. If you're in the healthcare field, you know what AEP season is. Okay, so we've been gearing up for that. Okay, so I didn't read as much as I usually I can get about 7 to 8, sometimes 9 on a good month. I think my best month I got about 10 in. But anyway, we started the month off with Sugar. This is my first Bernice, y'all don't mind me, Bernice L. McFadden read, and oh my gosh, did I enjoy this. I gave this book a 4.5, and honestly it could be 4.75, 5-star for some. This is a very good book, and I believe this is her debut novel, and for a debut novel, for her first book, hello, this is really good. Now with Bernice, when did I run into this book? I believe I saw Lex Reeves talking about Bernice a lot. I've seen Shelby in the book club bring up Bernice L. McFadden, and her work is just truly phenomenal. Okay, and this came out in 2000, so this is the 25th year anniversary for the publishing of this book. Now we're following the main character, Miss Sugar. Now Sugar, her name is Sugar Lacey, the main character in this, and unfortunately she got that name because she was sort of an orphan, if you will. She had a mom who dropped her off with some people she didn't know, and they were like 3 sisters, and so she ended up being raised by 3 sisters, and the mom was like, here, just give her a name, and she's like, they call me Sugar, so they ended up calling her Sugar Lacey because she's ended up with the Lacey sisters. And unfortunately, the people she ended up with, the sisters were sistering. Okay, they were all over the place, and I don't mean place, I mean places and people. Okay, they were bringing people to the house. They were doing things they shouldn't be doing in front of young ladies, and she kind of picked up that mentality, picked up that behavior. Now the book starts off in the world of a lady named Pearl Taylor. And unfortunately, Pearl Taylor in 1940 had a daughter, and something tragic happened to the daughter. And so that thrusts you right into the story. And then we learn later how that connects to Sugar Lacey. And Sugar Lacey leave town. She goes to different cities and she's doing her lady thing, like like the people she grew up with, because that's what she knows to do, right? But then she ends up coming back to the town in 1950s, which is this little town in Arkansas. And then you have people who are churchgoers who kind of shun her, they look at her a certain way. Obviously, one of the most judgment, oh my God, people, ridiculous behavior, but have the nerve to talk about other people like, come on. The ladies in that town were like, ooh, I was like, it couldn't be me. It couldn't be me, okay? This is such a great story because we find the journey that Sugar goes through. We find why she behaves the way she behaves. And she's one who come in with the wigs. She comes with the short skirt and she's walking like she owns the place. And they're like, who is this? But she was left at home in her old home, her own stomping grounds, right? And so then they are worried. The ladies there are worried that, oh, she's going to take our men. We heard about her. They're going to end up going away. And that mentality is so funny because the women there didn't put any responsibility on the men to stay faithful to them. They put it on the woman. They put it on Sugar and like, she's gonna take our men. She's gonna start causing chaos in the town. When you're supposed to be dealing with adults who have control and they are responsible for themselves. So Sugar is not responsible for someone's husband who is a grown person who thinks for himself, walks up into her home. You need to hold your husband accountable, okay? All right. Don't second guess it. But the writing in here, the descriptions, the story, such great storytelling for it to be in a kind of like give this historical fiction, literary fiction vibe is done so well. You can read it clearly. The themes in here, you're dealing with grief in this. You're dealing with abuse in this, and child abuse in the sense, and not in the most physical sense, but you're dealing with child neglect. You're dealing with how being the product of your environment, learning how to navigate, learning how to survive the best way you know how. You're dealing with judgment coming from a people who say, oh, I'm going to save you. I'm going to take you to church. She needs Jesus when they have Jesus, but still acting a fool, supposedly, quote unquote. Okay. You're dealing with all that, which is dealing with life. This was such a great read. I want to read Bernice's whole catalog, okay? I can't wait to read more. Sugar was hilarious because Sugar stood on her business, okay? She didn't let anything they were saying get her down because she knew who she was, whether it was good, bad, liked it or not. And then you had the neighbor, Pearl Taylor. Remember, Pearl and her husband Joe had went through something early in the story with their own child. Now they have other grown children, but they're all boys. And we find that Pearl gravitates to Sugar because she keeps saying, you remind me of my daughter. You remind me of my daughter who's not here anymore. And Sugar heard about the rumor, but didn't know what really happened or what was true or what was not. And Pearl doesn't judge her, but Pearl is also friends with all the Christian ladies in the town. They're like, you need to watch out for her coming over in the house. Sugar got her stuff open window because they can see through the window and they just looking through this lady's house. It's like, mind your business and you wouldn't have to look at her cooter pooter to patooter. Okay, you wouldn't have to. But Sugar stands on business, and just to see the story unfold and how Sugar connects to Pearl was like, oh my gosh. And then how the story leaves off, where Sugar ends up, okay, I can't tell you that because it's spoiler, but how it leads off, I'm excited to read the next one. And the offspring, the next book to this that leads off of this one is supposed to be This Bitter Earth. I don't have that one yet, but I will be getting it. I want to read all of Bernice's catalog. Okay, I spent a lot of time on that one. Let's go to the next one. This was actually my last read of September. I just finished this book. The time I'm taping this video is Sunday, September 28th. I finished it Saturday night, which was yesterday evening. And this is my first read by Richard Wright, Native Son. This is the vintage classic copy. There's another copy that I really like that I would eventually get, and it's another cover. It's like one of the original covers that I really love. It's a black man on front, has like a little cigarette or cigar in his mouth, and it's perfect. That's the perfect image of who this book follows. So the main character in this book is Bigger Thomas, and Bigger, he's always smoking, and he's like, what's funny is like when you first start the book, you don't realize how old Bigger is, because he's like a young man, but you don't know how old he is because he still lives with his mom in a small, it's like a one-room apartment. He has to share a bed with his little brother, Buddy, and then the mother and the sister Vera shares a bed. And in order to get dressed, the guys have to turn around while the ladies are getting dressed, and that's how close in proximity. It's like you open up in the apartment of the mom, and it's like a rat running around, and the mom's jumping up and the sister jumping up, and they're like, Bigger, get the rat, Bigger, buddy, help him out. It opens up here. But this is the 85th anniversary of the publishing of this book. This book came out in 1940, and it was originally published in Great Britain. Everyone should read this. Everyone. I mean, this was my 5-star. So I started the month with a 4.5, ended the month with a 5. Now I'm going to tell you in a moment why in the middle it was down. I was over it. Sorry. I was over it, okay? Because it was horrible on the in-between. But this, to close out the month, to get me out of that slump, OMG. Now, this is a long one. This is almost, it's over 400 pages. It's just about 454 or so. But as you can see, I tabbed this one, and on one video, I had started tabbing on the inside and putting the tabs on the inside, and now I said I can stick it out, just don't have it sticking out too much, just a little bit. But it's so much to highlight in this. Richard, he didn't write this book in chapters. So, normally we're breaking up the story into a lot of smaller chapters. He broke this story up into books. So you have book 1, which talks about the main point of their theme is fear. Book 2, main theme is flight, and book 3, the main theme is fate. And for this story, following Bigger Thomas, it fits perfectly because you're following his beginning of his story, what his situation is looking like currently. Then you're following the middle, what he got himself into in book 2, and then you're following him on how his his story closes, which is, it's not favorable. It's not a happy ending, but it is a must read. And you understand them when I started diving into Richard Wright and studying him a little more. You see why he eventually went to Paris, because this book at one point was like banned. It caused a lot of controversy because it's dealing with Bigger and his decisions. You're dealing with all of this, how the fear of the black man navigating the world when you're talking about living in the 1950s, living in the 1960s, all, the time period, even till now. And you can see why Bigger made the choices that he made. Now, this is written in third person, but it has the narration is so direct, so clean. It feels like Bigger. You have lenses. Say Bigger's here, you have lenses, and you are the lenses, the camera following him everywhere he goes. It is written so well that you feel like Bigger is actually telling the story. He's telling the story, giving you all the viewpoints of all the characters that evolve in his eyes. And it's so much to unpack. Like, this really deserves a separate video, because it's so much nuances, so many variables to unpack here. You're dealing with a man who constantly talk about being black, having fear and walking around and trying to live and navigate the world, not having a lot of opportunities. And then you have the mom. Like, the first book, I was like, the mom, she gotta go. No, ma'am. Like, she talks down to him, and you see kind of a transition with the mom throughout the book, but she like, you ain't gonna be nothing, you need to get you a job, and you need to pay these bills. Like, you need to pay her bills. She a grown woman, and you had 3 kids, okay? You need to get a job. You need to, okay, let's get it right. But the way she talked down to him, and you see him carry that throughout the whole story. You see this interactions with his friends and at the pool party, not the pool party, but at, you know, place where you play pool at a bar and stuff, he interacts with different friends. But Bigger is deciding whether he should take the job with a wealthy white family, and eventually he does decide to take a job. It's like a driving job, you know, and then he gets a room to stay in, and he finds out the people that he's working for actually owns they're involved with the real estate company where his mom paid like $8 a week, which is a lot, because they figure out that the black people are being charged more than the white folks, and then the black people are being congregated in the south side, certain part of a city, and not being open to other areas to live in. Like, it goes in a lot. And then I love how you're gonna find a lot of repetition in this book, okay, in the thoughts that Bigger is having, but you understand why Richard decides to do that, because it makes sense, okay? It makes sense when he's working through, okay, I gotta drive. The white daughter comes in and try to talks about, hey, are you communist? Have you ever heard of unions and all this stuff? And so he has a perspective of what he's dealing with when he eventually decides to take the job with this rich white family. They treat him like he's almost like a pet, like, I own you. They order him around, go to your room, Bigger, or you need to get up this time. They tell him you're gonna work about 2 weeks. You only get 1 day off every 2 weeks or something like that, but you can have part of Sundays to yourself because we get up late. And even the daughter from the rich white family, who the whole book is really about, in a sense, but even the daughter, one who is supposed to be, because this family is supposed to be sympathizers for blacks, they donate to Negro institutions and things of that nature. But I love in book 3, there's another perspective of white that comes in and kind of checks the rich guy Dalton, because he is of the Communist Party. He thinks Negroes should be equal to whites and be treated like a human being, treated like a man, not a boy, because the Daltons and other people call Bigger boy when you find out his age, and you like, he's a young adult, he's a grown man, stop calling him a boy, he can make his own decisions. But he points something out to the rich family, and the rich family at one point says, we donated ping pongs, and the other white guy's like, ping pong tables? Is that really going to stop them from being murdered unsuggestively? Is that really going to stop the poverty in their homes, and you giving them ping pong tables? And I love how Richard so eloquently in book 3 points out tokenism. Till this day, we take tokenism so much, and we think just because somebody dances to our songs, or somebody gets a kids at the school sneakers, or whoever, or clothes for 1 day, we think the small things actually change something, when history in reality has changed nothing through mindset, has changed nothing through education or anything like that. And I love how it highlights those who would be considered sympathizers, the different perspectives. Are they useful or are they not? Also, those who are enraged. And you see this whole time, Bigger wants to take control of his life, so he makes horrible decisions to take that control. But you find when you're in his mind, you're finding that's the way he only can take control, that I have the right to make this decision, I can make it, and no one's gonna know it's me, because they consider me black and dumb. They consider, like, he plays into that notion in order to take control of his life. And it's very interesting. It's also interesting that when Bigger gets himself into situation after situation, just drives his hole deep here, because I'm not telling the whole story, but there's a preacher that comes and try to convinces Bigger, the only thing that can save you now is prayer, Bigger. The only thing, you're going to deal with a lot of suffering in this life, but you're going to get victory in the next life. And it's like, go sit down. Go sit down. He's telling things that you're used to hearing, used to being fed, and haven't paid attention to what is. Only what you think what should be. And there's a question that is posed towards the end, and that question is, how could death be victory now. And OMG, that is something to ponder, to work through. Like, this was such an excellent read. And I'm not going to be quick on the others because I spent a lot on Sugar and Richard Wright, but this was such a great read. I'm going to read all of Richard Wright's back catalog, his autobiographies, his biographies, everything. All right, the second book I read after Sugar, so I read, remember, Nader's Son at the end. This book was not on my TBR. This is The Ghostwriter by Julie Cart. This was actually part of Danny Reed's License to Thrill book club on Fable, and this was their September book choice, and I decided to join that book club and read with them for September. Now, this book follows a lady named Olivia Dumont. This actually just came out this summer. And this is it's one of those reads that's a lot of storytelling. It is slow paced, but she kind of leaves you some suspense each chapter because you're following a lady who is a writer, an author. She was at one point a prominent author, but then she said some words about another male author and she got fined and then kind of castigated or shunned, if you will, and it kind of messed up her career because she was mainly a ghostwriter. She's the ones who write the memoirs or writes, not memoirs, she writes the books for other people and she doesn't put her name on the books, okay? And she gets asked by another author to write his memoir, and she's like, well, memoirs aren't my thing. I usually don't write memoirs, but she gets asked, and long as beholds, it's her father. So that's where this story picks up. And the father, he has a very crazy past where his family, his sister and brother had got unalived, and he was assumed to have done it or been involved. And then the stories unfold as she's pulling the information to write the memoir. In the meantime, the dad is going through like Alzheimer's or dementia. He's slowly not remember or mixing things. And so this book, it was okay. It was kind of dry. Like the climax of the book, the aha of the book was like kind of, it was a miss. It wasn't like wow or great. I spent my whole time reading. It was like, okay. I gave this book a 3.75. Also read this little booklet of the War of 1812. This was at Wallace College in Dothan, Alabama. And not Wallace, it was at Troy University. And this little book tells you about the war, between how it got started with the British and the French and how the U.S. got involved, and also the intermingles of Canada being involved in there. And you see, this version is the point of view is written from a biased point of view. It talks about the Europeans that were here, the settlers, as they call them Americans, even though they're Europeans. The British fighting the British at this point, okay? They were Europeans who were here, who took land from other people, and then had the nerve when natives were trading with Canadians or those in Canada, getting weapons from them. They had the nerve, they're getting weapons and we want to come to their side of the land. We can't have that. We're going to have to get them Canada to stop trading with the natives because they're going to fight us for taking over their land. Like, y'all. It's still good information to know, but it's also good to know to highlight images, like see what your kids are learning and how they're learning information, because it shows the settlers at the time as good people. It also shows on some of these images like Black people enlisted freely and were happy to enlist and fight for the war. Like, But anyway, the next actual book I read was Blacktop Wasteland. I did a whole video on this. You can watch that if you want to. Go back and see my review on S.A. Cosby work. This, I believe I gave, it was not my favorite. I think I gave this a 3.75. It's not my favorite of his, but it's a good story. It just wasn't my favorite. My favorite is still Razorblade Tears, and then All the Cinders Bleed, and then My Darkest Prayer. This will be my fourth favorite of his. But this follows Beauregard. Beauregard is actually a family man, okay? He has a wife, Miss Kia. He has 2 sons. However, Beauregard is a former person that had former issues, okay? He was your typical guy trying to get around. He had a father who was like Fast and the Furious type of father, okay? He would do driving jobs for the people you shouldn't be bumming with, if you will, be hanging with all the time, be vibing with. And his father got into some trouble, and he witnessed it as a young guy, but he kind of tried, after going to juvenile, he's trying to live right, if you will, what some people call right. Debatable, but he has his own mechanic shop, but they're slow in business because there's another shop that opens up near them, and it's owned by a white guy, and it is getting more business than him. So he decides, okay, my son need glasses, my mom's in the nursing home, I gotta find a way to make some more money. My oldest daughter, who's from another person I dated, is about to go to college, so how I'm gonna get this money? And so he figures I can do a driving job and hook up with this guy. What was the guy name? It's this, I think it's Ronnie. Yeah, Ronnie. He was hooking up with, and he gets himself, Ronnie is one of those guys who all about himself. You can't trust him, and so he ends up trusting people that he shouldn't be trusting, get him more into a slump. This was actually, it was a good story. It was good. It was okay. It wasn't as great as I expected to be because it got so much hype. Okay, it got so much hype, and I was expecting a little more from it. The ending was, it was like, okay, what's going on? It's like he unfortunately feels like I can't change. I'm gonna be who I am because this is who my father is, this is who the family is, and so I gotta be this because the wife is like at a point where she wants to leave. I don't want anything to do with you. Something happens to one of their children, and actually something happens to both of the children, but in different aspects, different ways, and she's like, I can't deal with this, you got to make a decision type of thing. But it was good. So let me know if you enjoyed Black Talk Wasteland in the chat. All right, one more book, then I'll let you go, because this was I could have spent this whole video talking about Richard Wright's book because it was so good, and it's so much that I didn't even get to unpack, or so many nuances and variables I would love to talk about, but I know I don't want to make it too long. But Jasmine Guillory, quick on this one. While We Were Dating, this is my first read by Jasmine. Did not like it. Gave it about 2.75. It was way too fluffy for me, way too cutesy but not cute. It was pointless. It was no meaning or theme. Like I didn't feel any connection between the characters. It just didn't feel genuine. This book was so long, close to 400 pages. It's like 369, 370, and it didn't need to be that long, honestly. So I did enjoy it, but I love the cover. Okay, so let me know if any of these books that you read. Stay tuned for my October TBR because I'm going to drop that video this week, okay, and see what I'm reading in October. All right, and until next time, always remember to keep rising.